So he just grabbed a 45-pound bar off the squat rack and just threw it through the wall.
Oh my gosh.
We got an Atlantis plate-loaded shoulder press.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey,
So
no, go get a bone.
But that's because we're selling a few things and we just haven't managed to sell them yet. So we don't have like lots of room right now.
Brutal.
You know,
I
could have worse problems.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Right now, our problem is we have too many cool pieces of equipment. We don't have room for everything. Okay. There we go. So I'm feeling good about just me as a person. I'm gonna talk about you know, just the industry we you know, get a lot of like, you know, a lot of through our Instagram.
True.
You know what I mean? Right. And you know, hey, maybe I click half of it, take a closer look. Maybe I don't. I'm just saying. But I've looked at so many, you know, other like podcast shows and bike clips and guitar porn and self-improvement accounts, and also like those Screen Actors accounts I sent you guys with those great clips.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I've been watching so much of that stuff that I'm getting a little bit less, you know, less overload in my. I think if it's probably good for my brain is what I'm trying to say.
Look at my search page.
Probably good for my brain. Yeah, motorcycles.
Just motorcycles.
Wow.
There's a hockey fight in the bottom corner, and motorcycles. And if I scroll down, I got to get to like the second scroll before I get titties. So that's pretty cool. I'm a good person, I guess, or better than I used to be, at least.
That's what Instagram tells you.
I had to go way down to get to her and her.
Yeah,
it took a minute.
Yeah, so like I got
still.
Yeah, how are you guys doing? I got like there's Eddie Van Halen, there's Kiss, there's Jay Cutler. I got guitars. You know, there's like a meme with a girl, but it's not the girl. It's just a meme. Norm Macdonald. I've been on like a Norm Macdonald kick.
Yeah.
You know,
look at us. Look at Scott's not showing his. Scott's not showing his.
Yeah, you guys are on Instagram a lot more than me. Like I am not, and that's why you'll send messages and like I don't see them for. Then I'll get there and I'll see it like, you know, after it's been like 3 days. But for me, it's YouTube. Like my YouTube feed is all the guns, just all the fire,
all the guns,
stuff. All of them. Yeah.
All the guns.
Why is YouTube against cigars and not guns? I don't understand.
Oh, they're definitely against guns too. In fact, we're probably demonetized because we mentioned cigars and guns in the same sentence. They don't like the cigars, huh?
They just got a bot
it already.
They just have a cigar and gun bot. That's all it looks for. Cigars and guns.
Our show didn't even make it up when we tried to set up a YouTube. The moment we posted it, or we went to post it, it wouldn't let us.
What?
Yeah, like the guy, he called me and he was like, I got to do this and this. And then it went up and then our entire page was like disabled.
Huh, no kidding. You might have to do like an 18 or over thing maybe because it's tobacco related, I wonder.
I don't know.
Huh. That's the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Department. That's who's on us.
They're
the
after
ATF
all
is
of
watching
us.
ATF is watching you guys down there.
So we had a RICO case last week with...
Yeah.
Now we got ATF.
That's ongoing. That's ongoing.
That ongoing RICO case. We have an ongoing RICO case because of our past transgressions.
Yeah.
We got to say like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell. Oh, I like
there
the
you
pause.
go.
Felt good.
There you go. Yeah, we appreciate all the support. Once again, remember Mutant, IamMutant.com. Go on IamMutant.com if you're in North America and use a code Dusty20 or Big Ron 20. Doesn't matter what country you're in. You can use the code in North America, 20% off. You get a deal. We get a little gold star. It all works out. It all works out. So, and then of course, remember to, support the Think Big channel. Scott does a lot of work producing. He's actually hired some staff now over there at Think Big. We got news. He's got actual staff. I'm not sure if we want to out them at some point.
Rachel Irons. Shout out to Rachel Irons.
Okay, there you go, Rachel Irons. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. I noticed she was like, I figured that was her doing the editing when I saw the one post on Instagram. So
Yeah. Well, we shifted gears. So initially we were doing the Instagram reels, right? And then all of this started happening, and I thought to myself, you know what a better use of time would be is actually working on the platform itself, right? If you can release more YouTube videos instead of us having to labor over this entire podcast, what if we were to pull like the best clip from a Jordan Peters episode or like the best clip from Jay Cutler? So, some of our listeners, they haven't had a chance to even watch some of those. Like they weren't with us back then. So we're revisiting some of those, and it's allowing us to get more content out, which the algorithm loves that. The more you post, the more they reward you. And the more you become addicted to the dopamine surges that it provides. So
I love those dopamine surges.
My day is scheduled around multiple dopamine appointments.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you to everybody who is stepping up too for Patreon, because that does help a heck of a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Patreon helps a lot with, getting it all done, final product.
Yes.
So we got a quick hour Q&A here, gentlemen.
Zoom.
We're going to hammer. And the reason that we're doing things a little unorthodox this week.
Yeah.
We're doing our Q&A first, and then we're going to do our interview episode. We normally kind of flip that.
Yeah, but you guys won't even know that because you'll see this on Saturday.
Yeah.
We can't bury Kamal until, the Saturday.
True.
He gets priority.
Yeah. So it's going to come out opposite. So Kamal hasn't happened yet in our world, but in your world, you've already watched him.
And he just messaged me back. He's good. I wanted to double check. That's the producer thing to do. He's set. He's good to go. So we're scheduled. Yes.
We got 34 minutes of Q&A. No, 26 minutes of Q&A.
He's on at 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay. We got an hour.
We got an hour? Okay.
Almost. It's still going to be, but listen though, if Dusty brings up anything about pizza without forks or shoeless, locker room situations, you're gonna need that hour, Ron.
Just remember, focus on the words you use. Very important.
Yes. Okay. Let's do some YouTube questions for the people.
All right.
The people.
So there were, number one, there were so many gym stories of accidents that people had. Like, I mean, major ones and minor ones as well. But like, we triggered something in everybody. I did want to bring this one up just because it was worth mentioning. Christopher Davis said I was squatting 4.5 plates on a Smith machine a couple weeks ago when suddenly the cable snapped and one of the metal beams came loose. The machine started rocking, so I had to bail out and let the weight drop. I wasn't injured at all, but obviously a bit shaken up, thinking that it was going to fall back with the whole machine. Ever since then, I've been hesitant to use a Smith again. And I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever seen a Smith machine fall over? Because I feel like that would basically be like a car crash.
I've never seen a Smith fall over, but I've seen one of the rails pop out before, which can jam up. The bar can get jammed, because the rails are farther apart than they're supposed to be. So then there's like and the person doesn't always realize what's happened. So it can be very dangerous. Yeah. But I've seen Smiths come apart, but I've never seen them tip over.
Okay.
I can't remember who it was, but one of my friends that I follow was doing Smith squats in a gym that I don't think it was his home gym, and it wasn't secured to the ground, and the entire machine moved during his rep.
Oh my God.
Right.
And
he was
slid
feet forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So he pushed back and it fell because it was now behind him. Somehow didn't get injured, but it's like that kind of stuff drives me crazy with I understand that equipment moves, right? I mean, Ron, you guys move stuff. Some equipment you can, it cannot. I think a piece like that, it's like you got to figure out a way to make sure it's not going to move. I mean, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Smith should be bolted down. Both of ours are bolted because you just don't want that moving on somebody. And but another thing too is people do really dumb shit on Smith machines all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even that big of a fan of the feet forward squat because you're actually kind of really driving into the rails,
right?
Yeah. And that's not necessarily like you can, like I think you're way better off to use a hack squat at that point if that's what you're trying to do.
Sure.
And you know, same as like guys who do way too heavy on the military press, and their elbows are actually behind them, so they're really driving into the rails with their pecs until the rep gets halfway up. And then they actually use their, you know what I mean? Like, their elbows go back and they're really pressing into the rails. And I mean, that's just not what they're for. I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors doing that. You're actually like, that's like the awkward way to do it, you know? Get under it and press straight up, you know, but people want to go so heavy on Smiths. See everybody do like 3-4 plate shoulder presses and their elbows are behind them. So they're really pecked into it. So, yeah.
Okay. That was just a quick little one. And then we had one from Jim McDonald. He brought us a good one last time. He's Patreon, by the way. Thank you. And he gave us a whole slew of good over-unders that we used one day. Oh, damn. So he's back, and he says, question for the next podcast. He has his own podcast, by the way. They do like tech stuff, like nerdy computer stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
And all that. He says, question for the next podcast. Which person is the biggest tool? The person who records every one of their sets and walks around the gym with their tripod. That's number one. Number two, people who start dancing in the gym like they're in a nightclub. 3, newbie doing bodybuilding poses in the gym mirrors. Have some shame, people. 4, the person who thinks they can take multiple machines for supersetting, leaves a machine vacant for several minutes, then tries to kick somebody off. I have 2 more sets, bro. Or 5, people who take a big stinky dump in the men's locker room. All these people are there.
I do know all those people.
Yeah, they're all there. Yeah. So which one's the biggest tool? I'm not a fan of anyone who giant sets in a big gym. I think that's unrealistic for you to expect to take up 3-4 machines on a Monday night at a busy gym. I think that's a lot for you to expect.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, people who, if you're going to do a drop set on a chest fly, use a machine with a pin. Use a machine with a pin. That's literally the best way to solve that problem. It's not to grab 4 sets of dumbbells on a busy night and hog 4 sets or 5 sets of dumbbells for your drop set. That's not, it's just not like cool gym etiquette. So yeah, the sort of hoarding machines and equipment, I think, is a problem. I wouldn't use the word tool though. I don't really like to call people tools. There's tool behavior, but you know, sometimes people just don't realize. And then, you know, I'd say that's a close competition with the, see, the quote here is people who record every one of their sets.
Yeah.
So that to me that's ridiculous.
It's different than just like the top set, right? It's
different than just setting up for like your 1 set of hack set day and then take your phone down and you don't even use it the rest of the workout. That's a totally different type of behavior. But the recording everything and having to document, like, you know, if I see someone filming their leg workout with their buddy, I'm like, oh yeah. But then if I see them the very next day filming, or 5 days later filming another leg workout every single set, I'm like, what'd you do with the first one? I didn't even see it.
You delete that? Use it?
Is this all going on your stories? Like you're putting every single leg workout up? I don't know. Anyways, that's my thing.
I just like the time he put into this.
Yeah, he's a podcaster, so he knew what he's doing.
I definitely back those. So my knee jerk is I want to pick on the dancing person, but here's why I can't. The generalized lack of give up in a person like that is very impressive to me.
Frank.
Yes. Yes.
You know, like the fact that you don't like, and I understand there's some people who do it for attention, but I've seen people that just don't, like, you know, they're in their little zone and I'm like,
yeah,
I got to tip my hat to you. You don't care. And that's impressive.
Yeah.
So I want to say that person, but I can't. So yeah, I'm going to have to say, I'm going to honorable mention you on the supersetting, because there's a few ladies at the gym I used to go to that would go up and grab all of the like 10s to 20s, like 4 women. They were all training together.
Yeah.
But they would all do the same movement at the same time. So no one was spotting one, but they had all the weight.
Right. They had like all 4 sets of 15-pound dumbbells.
Yeah. And you're like, you guys aren't having. You're actually all training alone together.
Yeah,
Like they would
together.
talk,
Yeah.
and then they would all go, okay, now let's go, and then they would all lean back and do their flies or whatever, and you're just like,
So they're taking up 4 benches.
Yeah.
yes, 4 benches, 4 sets of the dumbbells are around the same size, and I'm just like, wow, okay. So I mean, wow, good for you, I guess, for being completely oblivious that other people exist.
Yeah.
I have to touch on one thing. I have to touch on the dancing thing that you said you give them credit. I can never pick on them because I know for a fact
Do you air guitar?
I play a bit of air guitar.
Yeah. Remember when we were training in Dubai and I said that to you? He's sitting there and we're like between sets. I look at Ron. He's got his headsets in and I mouth something. He's like, "Huh?" He takes his out. I go, "What song are you playing?" He goes, "What? I go, what song are you playing?" He goes, "What?" I go, "On your air guitar." He goes, "Oh."
I didn't even realize I was doing it.
That's great.
I just had a little chug going.
Yeah.
Had a little chug, a little palm mute going on my hip. Yeah.
You know, he didn't mention, I did a thing one time and I caught myself doing it. And it was okay because I was the only person in the gym. My buddy, a client too, Mike Toller, he has like a little, it used to be Anytime Fitness. He changed it. He made it independent now, but it's a little key fob gym. And it was Christmas Day. This is 5 years ago or so. I went through a breakup and it was Christmas Day and I was going to my parents' house and I wanted to get a workout in first. And it was chest. And I'm going to tell you, it was the absolute like best workout I had all year. And I think I felt like a little bit of like that little bit of self-hate, you know, a little anger, a little being upset.
Love that.
And I had like Rage on, something like that. I can't remember what, I think it was Rage Against the Machine. And I was the guy who was kind of like, there was nobody else in the gym, mind you. And maybe that's why I felt comfortable enough. I was kind of like pacing between sets and looking at the floor and kind of like maybe like cussing out loud, just under my breath a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the whole time. And I was like, maybe a little hyperventilating. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. Just a little.
The music was contributing. You were almost dancing.
Yeah,
You were almost
dancing.
a ritualistic tribal display.
Like my own little
Right?
mosh pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's what I mean. The dancing is technically sort of the same part of the brain as the air guitar. So I can't make fun of them. It's just this coming out differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the guy too who sings to the headphones. There's that guy.
Yeah. So the odd time there's a guy at our gym and he sings a lot and he'll be at the water fountain just rapping away.
Okay. Yeah.
Just out loud. With his
And you can't
headphones
hear
on.
yourself, so you're kind of like a deaf person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then if my music is like one of my headphones is out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that guy that raps to himself again.
Yeah. And so on this note, because there were so many, you guys had so many good comments. There was one more I wanted to address. Funny gym stories. You said, I've never seen a friend of mine. Worst but funny gym story I've ever seen. Friend of mine, a competitive bodybuilder. Oh no, wait, this is a different guy. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had to get rid of that.
Here.
You
Get no credit, sir.
I'll bring that back.
Violent.
Violent.
I liked
Nothing to us.
I'll bring that one back. But this was just because this one was so impressive. He said, weird guy at the gym story. Me and my buddy were heading to the locker room to get our stuff and leave. We saw a kid walking in. We both had to do a double take to make sure we saw it correctly. The kid brought a katana into the gym. When we were leaving, he was on a machine, on a leg press, still with the katana.
Wow. So he's just carrying like a sheathed katana around in case he needs it?
I don't know. I asked if
Did he
had
have
like
a pizza or, say, a purple headband?
That's what I said. I said, did you have like a shell on his back or anything?
Yeah.
It was
That's-
Leonardo. Yeah. Oh. Is that right?
That's funny.
No,
That's something like, you know, I can imagine seeing that in the gym as an owner. Being like, I have some questions.
Yeah.
I would have some objections, actually.
Walk up and go, is it all right if you maybe put your samurai sword in the locker? Or maybe I can hold it in the office for you? You think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
I'd do something to try to help him out.
All right. Because I brought it up, I got to bring this one back.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. He's back. Competitive bodybuilder friend broke both forearms in a construction accident. First day back in the gym, he says, I'm going to make my comeback. And a guy who's known to be a wise ass comes up and says, you never were there to begin with. Yeah. And ends up getting thrown through the sheetrock wall until it was repaired. You could see the spot where he went through.
So for like a week or two, there's like a whole no sheetrock.
And so that led to a thing I wanted to ask you guys, because you've been in the gym for obviously decades now. What was your best gym fight story that you witnessed? Because everybody's got one.
So I got to tell the funny sheetrock story first.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Good.
This was the gym back in, this would have been back in Grand Prairie and probably like 93 maybe. I would have been in like grade 12. And the gym got like a new manager or something. And, the new manager comes in and he's like, oh, we got to make it more marketable, right? And he gets this bright idea to build just a drywall, just like an 8-foot wall right in the middle of the dumbbell rack past the 80-pound dumbbells. So like the dumbbells are going to go to 80. Then there's going to be a wall. Huh. Then you go around the 8-foot wall and the dumbbells will start at like 85 and go up to 130 or whatever we had. Because he thought, well, the big guys are intimidating. So we'll build a wall and the big guys can train on the other side of the wall with the heavy dumbbells. I'm not even joking.
Enter at own risk.
Yeah. And there was a squat rack on one side of the wall and a squat rack that was on the other side of the wall. And he was telling all the big guys, hey, can you guys squat in that rack? Here's the idiot. And I don't even have to go into how square footage works when you insert a wall. It actually swallows up a wall swallows up like way more space than it actually takes up on a blueprint, right?
Right.
And it just eats into everything. Like everyone was like, what is this wall? And it went up so fast. Like I literally went in the gym one day and there's a wall. I'm like, right? So I don't know who to give credit to. It's one of two guys because it was so long ago. But Corey and Derek.
Both. Thanks, guys.
Corey and Derek. Yeah. Corey Lebrecq and Derek Doobie. Those two guys, man. They were the coolest guys. And they were like a little older than me and they were bodybuilders at the gym. And I can't remember. I think it was Derek Doobie. But one day he went in there and he saw the wall. And he was like, so he just grabbed a 45-pound bar off the squat rack and just threw it through the wall.
Oh my gosh.
This wall is now done.
Yeah, this wall's done. There's no cameras here. Just threw it through the wall. Wall got taken down.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dumbest thing.
Can you imagine that being what you're bringing? I like that. That's how he thought, though. This is a problem. I will fix it.
I'm just going to punch a hole in it, and then they're either going to remove it or put an effort into fixing it, and I'll just punch another hole in it again. Right? Yeah. So he just threw a 45-pound bar through it. Gets us out of here.
I just could see him pulling the bar back out, putting it back, and then just getting back to his workout. Like,
yeah, you got to finish up legs.
Nothing happened here.
Anyways, I think the statute of limitations on destroying that wall is passed, so I can mention them. And you know what? Who knows if the story is even completely correct, but that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember him throwing it through that wall and just laughing uncontrollably about how, oh my God, I can't believe that.
That's kind of mayhem I'm talking about. Those are the things you see in the gym that you don't see. Like I was asking about fights, but that's just as good. Like those things you don't see.
Better.
Yeah. You don't see that at other things in the world,
Yeah.
So
yeah, good times.
Do you have any
wrapped around this idea that a guy built a wall in the gym?
Yeah.
I want to fire him and the person who hired him. Both.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. It's been so long since I thought about that. So
wow. I got to tell you, Scott, I have nothing that can come close to any aspect of that story.
Yeah.
The wall going up or how it came down. I mean, wow. This guy was so far ahead of Trump trying to keep us separated.
Yeah. Build that wall.
There was it was at Powerhouse Novi, which was their world headquarters, and they were they've gotten away from the bodybuilding thing. They're more about the fitness thing and the competing with like Lifetime and stuff like that at world headquarters. And they had dumbbells that went up to like 130, I think they were, but the dumbbells from 100 to 130, they ended up moving away from the normal dumbbells. They had this like powerlifting area, and it was 60,000 square foot gym, by the way. And they had them all the way on the other side of the gym by like some ropes and some random stuff and one bench over there. So you would, I guess, and they moved them there. They weren't always there, but they decided they were going to try that to kind of like, same thing, build a wall just with sheer space. So when I needed those dumbbells, what I would do is I would walk over there and I'd strap up. And part of my workout was I'd have to carry them on over.
Walk them all the way over.
And then when you're done, leave them there.
I just put them at the end, after the... after the 100s.
Where they're supposed to go.
Exactly. Just on the floor.
Right there on the floor. There.
Yeah, next to it.
Your idiocy is just going to make me stronger because of the farmer's walks. I'm going to get stronger.
It's the way I felt,
size
man.
of Scott's traps since they moved those dumbbells.
Yeah. How come everyone at that gym has huge traps? Well, the owner moved the heavy dumbbells, and they're all really upset about it. Yeah.
All right, I got a real bodybuilding question here from Iron Warrior. Thoughts on mini cuts during the off season?
I think it means you got fat and you shouldn't have.
Yeah, some people just can't get away with eating how other people eat, and sometimes they have to do a little 3-week trim up or something like that. I think it's really interesting now with what we're talking about with insulin sensitivity and how you can actually, theoretically maybe grow better if you stay between 8 and 12% as opposed to like going to, 15, 16, 17%. It doesn't necessarily make you grow any better. So, we've talked about, all of our different off seasons and, whether we actually yielded any more muscle by getting a lot heavier or medium heavier, you know what I mean? And, some of my best preps are when I didn't get nearly as heavy in the off season, so there's some definite validity to doing like a mini cut. I like to ask people, I like to monitor appetite more than actually how they look, like if they're having a hard time getting their food down, they're like, oh man, I'm really fucking like struggling with this food, that's, I think, a good time to do a little, remind your body to be hungry, diet for a couple of weeks. I think it's good. I think it's good for you, we never did it, of course, because we were just like, well, diet starts, May 15th on the calendar. I got, because we did one show a year. So it was always just a repeating off season, then diet, off season, then diet. So, but I think, it's definitely a valuable tool for a lot of people. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Not everybody, whatever.
Yeah, it depends on if you need it. I do have clients, all kidding aside, that we have to let them get a little too soft and then bring them down throughout the year. I got one guy in particular that if I don't let him get a little soft, he doesn't put on any size. Yeah. But then I have to carefully pull it back down. And it's just, because the way he carries his fat is in one area. And I'm worried if I let that sit there too long, too heavily, that we might have a skin issue later. You know what I mean?
That's another thing.
What area
he carries it like between the low, like it's funny, but like, all kidding aside, it's like female. It's like between the love handles and like down into the glutes.
Oh, okay.
And it's that whole area, like everything will be reasonably tight, and then there's just bam. And I'm like, that word I can't use.
Frank.
Frank and beans. So. But yeah, so it is. It's an up and down. But for the most part, I do think what I said jokingly in the beginning, which is if you're if you're not really prone, just make sure you're watching all the time. Because like you said, Ron, a lot of people, I know I was guilty of this when I first was gaining. I'm like, I got to get heavy. And it was the scale. It was like, what? As long as that scale goes up, I'm bodybuilding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which still isn't actually a bad plan for a certain type of guy. Like,
right. Or I think a young guy, the
young guy or
different.
more mesomorphic guy. It especially a mesomorphic person, who's got like the body type for it. Like, you just fucking move that scale, man. Fucking eat. But again, not everybody is in that zone. I was pretty lucky. I think I'm about half mesomorph, so a little bit of that. What's the tall, skinny one? Is that ecto?
Yes,
ecto?
Or just skinny.
Ecto. Yeah. So I think I'm like an ecto
without
meso.
the tall part.
Right. Yeah.
All right, got another good one here. Another bodybuilding question. Lots of talk about studies, Chris Beardsley on hypertrophy and lower rep ranges, 5 to 9 being superior than 10 plus, as anything over this range is only causing additional fatigue and no benefit. Do you ever take these studies into consideration and adjust your training or for your clients, or you stick to what's worked for decades, really any rep range pushed to failure to keep the gains coming? Seems like the internet and amount of information we have now on training, people are looking for an exact formula instead of just doing the work.
Yeah, I don't overthink that stuff. To be honest, because of the Dorian stuff I did, a vast majority of my stuff was 5 to 10 reps to failure. I would go down to 5 on certain body parts, like maybe your main work set of chest or deadlifts or something like that, or squats. But, everything else would be minimum 6 reps to 10 reps. Like, I did a lot of that, like a lot. And with my clients, due to all the experience since then, I sort of like the 6 to 12 rep range for most working sets, most straight sets. And I sort of shoot for like a couple of the 6s and then more of the 10s, like sort of when I'm looking at the volume. You remember the heavier weight and the lower the reps, kind of the higher the risk. So you have to, and you just look at the person too, some guys are built for, some guys are built pretty sturdy. Other people aren't built as sturdy, so there's a lot of little things that go into that. But everything we've seen so far that I've seen shows that training really, really hard is the number one factor. And the rep range that have all shown hypertrophy has been the kind of 3 to 30 range. As long as you're training hard, the extent of your effort on the sets, that seems to be one of the main factor for hypertrophy. So, I try not to overthink that.
Yeah.
I think the overthinking stretches into a lot of stuff now. So I take it really simply. If you're doing, let's just say for numbers, 200 pounds for 6 currently, and you're doing that same 200 for 12 later, you're probably bigger. Same thing if that number is 100 for 16 and now it's 100 for 30. Yeah. So I don't really worry about that much. And I think the thing that drives me crazy about all these studies and things is they also bring into account things like Scott and I talked about over the weekend, which are now we're in this, we want to stay in a shortened range of motion and constant tension because that's magic. I would like to use a word I can't use here, but it doesn't.
Frank?
It doesn't
Is that
map
the word
out.
You're looking for?
Yeah, it's real loud, kind of all at once. Yeah. Like when I think of when I got the greatest changes, it was when, for example, on lats, it was like when Dante was like, "Oh no, on your rack chins, drop all the way down. I want the arms and the lats to fully relax.
Yeah,
like all the way. Then a full pause at that stretch, then come all the way back up again." And you could literally feel when you dropped into that stretch and really let your lat release even further, a stretch into your armpits, which used to be my armpits and later became an extension of my lats. That was just further distance. So I really do think a lot of these studies and things get in the way because I tell my clients all the time, are you feeling that where you're supposed to? Yes. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like we can beat it to death, but if it's on there the whole time and when you're done, you can't squeeze it anymore and you're not feeling some other muscle join in, cool. I guess we're good. I mean, I just think you can really over abuse these things in numbers and stuff like that. And I also think one thing to add on the rep range is something to be said about training the mind. And there is nothing more disgusting than a set of squats or a set of leg press to 50.
Yeah.
Because that's not just strength, that's your brain. You want to stop at 30, and there are 20 more in the tank if you're sadistic enough. And most of you will never know that because the study said to stop at 6. And that means your 6 isn't what it could have been either.
Right.
Because you're not crazy enough.
The over I think all this information is good in a way. It's the application that becomes a problem, and the trendiness of certain things that become a problem, and people changing what they're doing, even though what they're doing was working. So I see guys that have good backs, and they're changing what they're doing because they're like, oh, I want to, isolate more. I do think, though, that the back is such a complex body part that we shouldn't necessarily be isolating one little muscle. Like it works together. It's a complex. It works together. Like when you do a one-arm dumbbell row, it's not just your lat, it's your rhomboids and your traps and all the muscles underneath your shoulder blade and everything pulling and your rear delt and your rotator cuff, and it's all coming together because it's a giant compound movement. Like you don't put a bar on your back and then try to turn your glutes off in a squat. Like you'll fall over. Your glutes have to fire in a squat. Everything has to fire in a squat for you to stay rigid and straight, So when you're doing these one-arm pull-downs, which I have nothing against one-arm pull-downs, I do them all the time. But when you're doing them and you're trying to turn everything off except your lat, I just don't think that's the best way to get the most out of your training, efficiency-wise. You should do one-arm pull-downs, and your lat should be wound with blood, but there's a lot of other things in your back that should also get a lot of blood in them too. Like there's a lot going on, when you go hard and move some weight and all that stuff. So I just don't think you should, if just your lat has some blood in it and there's nothing else going on anywhere, I'm not necessarily sure that's the best way to train something like back.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. We had a couple more here. If you guys could do something, if you could focus on something other than bodybuilding and build a career, what would it be?
I don't know.
I mean, I would. It's stuff that I kind of am doing already, anyways. But I would love to get into I definitely enjoy a lot of aspects of real estate. But I think just like bodybuilding, I would actually pigeonhole myself a little bit because I enjoy it. So it's not fitness, it's bodybuilding, right? I really love mid-century modern houses. I would like to buy them, update them, and flip them. That's
right.
Because then you get the reward of the money, but also the joy of I bought it at this, did this to it, made it awesome, and sold it for that. So I get all of those pieces. I could see getting into that for sure.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I think it's hard to say now, but I do love. I have some friends that are in the rock and roll business. One of my good friends is buddies with producers that have made all the biggest albums in history. And, there's a lot of room in that industry for someone that loves the business and loves music. There's all sorts of, from owning, music stores to being involved in recording studios and being around those bands and, learning the tech side, and there's all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I think it might, be cool to be in the music industry back in the day. I don't know how it is now, but, it would have been, some cool stuff, lots of guys that never played in bands or anything. They just love playing music and love music. Some of those are the best guys producer wise, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That'd be cool.
So yeah, involved somehow. Maybe an agent for the bands. The bands get a deal, taking care of them. No brown M&Ms. You didn't read the rider.
Here's a good one. Everybody loved the posing stuff about hamstrings. And somebody even mentioned, they were like, at 49 minutes, 53 seconds, tell me everybody wasn't flexing their hamstring at that moment. And I was like, I was sitting at my desk doing it while you guys were talking. Damon says, educating and entertaining. If you guys want, I would love to hear more posing tips. I have learned so much about displaying leg development in the past few episodes, and I'd really like to hear more if possible. By the way, death and black metal is all I listen to. Ron should give it more consideration. I work with him. In fact, I think he has like a big pentagram tattoo. He's like our age. I think he's got a big old pentagram tattoo. I'll have to check. I'm not going to.
He's 29.
Yeah. He's like 27, like our age.
Oh yeah,
cool. Yes.
Well, I'm glad the people need help with leg posing. That's something that people need help with. So I'm glad they found a little bit of a lesson in there. You know?
Yeah. What's the next thing people have problems with? What do they have? Back. Like back is a tough one, isn't it?
It's so hard for me to explain the simplicity of opening a back.
I got one.
Nothing harder than when people first start. Go ahead.
I got one. When you're doing a back double bicep, you shouldn't be able to see your fingers wiggle in your peripheral vision. Your hands should be behind you.
Yeah.
You got to rotate back so your fingers, you shouldn't be able to see your fingers. You know what I mean? So I see guys like this, but their lats aren't really out and they lose their bicep peak from behind. You got to roll it back.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. You just like rotate, just rotate the arms back farther and crank it back. You feel the whole back lock up and it looks like it gets wider. It's like a really good illusion. Yeah. But I use that as a rule. If you can see your fingers wiggling in your peripheral vision, your hands aren't back far enough.
Right. That makes total sense.
Yeah, and he does. He has like a big pentagram on his back. So that adds up now.
Yeah.
How about this one? This is something I think I tell a lot of the newer guys. And it's that you see them hit like a front double bicep and they don't really inflate themselves. They're just like, here I am, front double bicep.
Right.
And the way I explain it to them, and it really won't maybe translate as much on audio, but like, you take a guy who's standing here like this, just normal. And then just think about like inflating all of this. You know what I mean? Like expand your rib cage. Think about breathing up. I mean, who's going to look bigger? This guy, who's just here, or, that guy. So it's like, I think it's a simple one, but maybe I didn't do that in the past because I remember somebody else teaching me that,
Also on the front double, I tell people to reach for the walls with their elbows.
Oh,
like, Try to just reach out with your elbows a little, like get a little wider. Like you'd be amazed. You got a little bit more in you, you got some shoulder girdle that you can spread out there. Yeah.
People don't always close their arms down well enough either on that. Like you see them like that. They're up here.
Yeah.
You could close that down. I don't know.
Yeah. And then I like to leave just a bit of a gap so you can see where the bicep like peaks. If you close it, if some people, if they close the arm too far, it like fills the hole.
Yeah.
I always closed it all the way so that no one realized there was no peak. It was good. Very much part of my plan.
Dusty had so much tricep, he could bend his arm all the way and his tricep sweep was still crazy.
Yeah. Okay. I know you've got some, Ron. I've got one more and it's important. And this is an over and under Otomix shoes. He said he's been wanting a pair for 3 years.
You should want them for longer and then stop wanting them. I think it's the most and I had them. I'm sure we all did. But I had them when I was first bodybuilding because Otomix and a big water bottle were the only way that people could know I was bodybuilding because I didn't have any muscle. So that was my if I was a couple years earlier, I would have also had some of those big socks maybe coming out of the top of them. I think Otomix are terrible looking. And they don't do anything. This magic with the floor and the whole thing, not necessity. I really, the only thing I say is don't put on shoes like, and I know it's not as popular, but like Air Maxes that have like air bubbles in them and they go get under a 500-pound squat. Like that seems like something might go wrong, And as much as I kid about Chucks and stuff, I train them just because I like them and they're cheap. Like,
Right.
On other days I train in on clouds because I think they're like super comfortable and I like the support. But like leg and back days, I always train in chucks just because I always have. I don't even know if I think it's like a flat foot thing. I think half of it's just because I've always trained in that. So it's my ground zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's magic at all. But Otomix are definitely magic because they're right up there. Like they're the original Crocs. I had some.
I don't have anything against Otomix, but I never had a pair. They were never really my style. I was always into like Adidas and stuff like that. So I just never had Otomix. And then I did try like a few pairs of like when like the Rider Wears came out, I had like a pair of those just to see how they were, which is kind of like an Otomix, but I didn't really, I like more of like, like a Chuck is great for the gym, but I also like, other shoes, Adidas and stuff like that. So yeah.
Kai
Jordans.
Green.
I like Jordans,
I remember Kai brought him back like 2010-ish.
Well, he did the full on like a boot though. It was like up.
The boot.
Oh,
match the color to his sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Bright purple.
As if his calves needed any more attention, but the boot went up and had to open up 76 inches to get the calf in there. I forgot that I hate Kai, and now I remember.
You remember part of why.
Exactly. Because he's better than me in every way. Anyways.
Yeah.
I did have a question here I wanted to get to before the end of the show.
Yeah.
Because I actually have something that I'm looking into. Like a business wise, I'm talking to a couple guys that I know, and we're just sort of feeling something out because we have, there's an idea floating around. But you guys, you know anyone who ever buys their meat in bulk, like directly from a farmer, like gets like a half a cow, gets it all butchered up, fills his freezer, guys that do that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, that's the best way to buy your meat, you're getting the craziest price. So we actually we're actually kind of feeling this out, seeing what people would be interested, because we have the resources to bring full beefs, half beefs, and even quarter beefs to guys that want to pre-order their meat. And you'd save an immense amount of money because of the idea we have cuts out all the middlemen, and you'd be getting strip loin for hamburger prices basically, and this is up here in Canada, but you'd be getting the meat for a far better price than at the supermarket. And but you'd have to have a deep freezer. You'd have to split it with some of your buddies. Like you could order a half a cow and you could each take a quarter of, you get 4 guys and you each take a quarter of the meat or something like that. But we're feeling it out to see how many people would be interested, because we're looking to see the economy, price of meat.
Yeah.
Everything's driving, and I don't see bodybuilders and fitness people wanting to, drop the quality at all. They want the best. They want the grain fed. They want the, all that stuff. And the grass fed beef. I mean, they want the grass fed beef. They want the good stuff, and they want the best price. And this would be the most ridiculous way to get it to them. Would be insane price savings. The only thing is you'd have to order early in the year, and you'd get it later in the year, but it would last you like the whole year, right? You'd be getting a lot of meat. So
Ron already sold me on this.
Yeah. So we're
how about you, Dusty? I'm ready. You know what I mean?
I don't know why he didn't sell me on buying into this is the part that I'm a little frustrated.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well, I'm, we're just feeling it out. But yeah. And then, so whoever's interested, whoever would be interested, and you don't necessarily have to live where I live, but if that's something that you think is a great idea, we're just getting a feel for it. The prices are up. Not everyone's happy with the quality of the supermarket meat they're getting. They want the grass-fed stuff.
Yeah.
So it'd be the best meat for the way best price. Like there's no way they'd be able to get a price like it. But, you'd need to have somewhere to store it, and you'd have to, be patient, because you'd order it, in the spring, and you'd get it in the fall, and it would last you, all winter and all summer. And, ideally you could order, once a year, technically, if you had the space for it.
I got a question.
You'd save thousands and thousands of
millions.
I have a question. Okay. If you do this, can we call the company Ron's Meat? Can I advertise it on the network?
You can't beat Ron's Meat.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Oh man.
Or if you want to taste Ron's meat, just let us know. We'll send some out to you. We'll send them
I've
out
never
to you.
had better meat in my mouth than Ron's.
There you go.
I'm not. There we
I can
go.
see this going
See,
in
it
so
sells
many
itself.
good ways. Yeah.
Sells itself. I can't say that the other guys will be thrilled about any of those names.
But they will when the numbers come in, Ron.
Whatever gets the clicks off of here, I'm fine with.
Exactly.
But yeah,
here we are back again to a bunch of people putting Ron's meat in their mouth.
If you're in Canada, definitely send me a message. Tell me if you think that's a great idea. If you would, you'd be, ordering meat off me in the spring, and you get it delivered in the fall, and it's fucking incredible. And you got a whole freezer full, and you save a couple grand over the winter time. Insane.
So what you're saying is, if you're interested in Ron's meat, slide into his DM.
Yes,
and he'll put it right in your mouth for a discounted price.
Slide into my DM.
You know what's crazy though? Seriously, is what I've run into here, which is wild, is going to the supermarket to get meat and not caring what it costs, and they don't have it.
Huh?
That's another thing.
And I'm like, what? I mean, so when I think of this opportunity, that's the first thought that came to my mind. Wasn't even the price. Like, I don't have time to go to another store, and now I have to, and that pisses me off beyond belief. You go in, or if they happen to put a sale on it, which brings it to twice what it used to be instead of 3 times, it's also gone because someone like me bought all of it. Like,
yeah,
that is a big problem here with the good stuff too, is because I think in our area they underestimated what people are willing to pay for quality, so they underordered. So all of the really good beef is gone, or if you see it, get it, because I really think that they were like, oh, everyone's tight. And I'm like, there's a lot of rich people here that are not willing to step down, or it's just important to them. They're not even rich, but they're like, no, I will go without a different expensive tennis shoe or something because I need quality food.
Yeah.
Right. So what's currently happening is there's some online sites that sell grass-fed right from the farm meat. But they sell it they sell it to order. So you would go on their website and you'd order strip loins, and they'd send you strip loins. But their prices are actually way higher than the supermarket because you're getting a premium product and all that stuff.
Right.
And the infrastructure and the of inventory is an enormous issue for those guys. Like, they're massive operations. But you wouldn't be doing that. You wouldn't be ordering a pack of strip loins. You'd be ordering, say, a quarter beef or a half beef, and you're splitting it with your buddy or whatever.
Ooh,
so
all of it.
Kamal's here.
You'd be getting all of it. You'd be getting some hamburgers, some strip loins, some sirloins. You'd be getting everything, and you'd split it up. So we could use the same price per pound for the whole order, and you'd save an enormous amount of money.
Guys, I got to interrupt.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kamal's with us.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Rotate. Episode 2, go.
All right. Do we close that? Anything?
Yeah, let's close
this.
Just do a quick close. Thank you, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell. And don't forget, soon you can have Ron's meat in your mouth.
Oh, yes, God.
Coming. Yeah,
that's
the guys
a perfect
are gonna
name for the company.
Yeah, the guys are gonna hate that. Remember, IamMutant.com. Go on IamMutant.com. Dusty20, Big Ron 20. All that stuff. Thank you, guys. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.